Documentary made by Trends and Fashion, Jinnah's Narrative on the Two-State Solution and the Palestine-Israel Conflict, 1947. Narrated by Mewish Khan. In 1947, the world was in the midst of significant transformation, recovering from the immense devastation of World War II. This year marked a critical juncture not only for the nations of South Asia but also for the Middle East, as the United Nations proposed a partition of Palestine. The plan aimed to establish two states, one for the Jewish settlers and another for the Arab population. As the international community engaged in intense discussions about the future of Palestine, the subcontinent was also grappling with its own divisions, culminating in the partition of India and the birth of Pakistan. Amidst this complex geopolitical landscape, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founding father of Pakistan, emerged as a strong and vocal opponent of the proposed two-state solution. Jinnah's opposition to colonialism. Jinnah's critique of the two-state solution was fundamentally rooted in his experiences with colonialism. He recognized that the partition of Palestine was not merely a resolution to a conflict but rather an imposition reminiscent of the strategies used by European colonial powers. Just as India was divided based on religious lines, Jinnah saw the Palestinian partition as a colonial tactic that disregarded the rights of the local populations. Jinnah had dedicated his life to advocating for the rights of Muslims in South Asia, fighting against the injustices of British colonial rule. His vision for Pakistan was rooted in the idea of Muslim sovereignty and self-determination. When he turned his attention to Palestine, he saw a parallel struggle unfolding. The quest for Palestinian rights resonated with his own struggle against colonial domination. For Jinnah, both Muslims in India and Palestinians faced similar battles against external powers that sought to dictate their futures without their consent. The demographic realities of Palestine. One of Jinnah's central arguments against the two-state solution was grounded in the demographic realities of Palestine. At the time of the proposed partition, the Arab population constituted a significant majority, while Jewish settlers remained a minority. Jinnah questioned the fairness of granting large portions of land to a group that had arrived primarily as a result of European colonial policies. He believed that establishing a Jewish state in a predominantly Arab territory was fundamentally unjust. This concern about demographic imbalances was not merely an abstract argument for Jinnah, it had tangible implications. He foresaw that the creation of a Jewish state in a land where Arabs constituted the majority would inevitably lead to conflict. His perspective was informed by the historical context of colonialism, where the imposition of artificial borders and divisions often led to violence and upheaval. Jinnah's warning about the potential for conflict was not just speculation, it was a recognition of historical patterns that had often repeated themselves in colonial contexts. Anticipating the Nakba. Jinnah's foresight regarding the consequences of the two-state solution would later be validated by the events that unfolded in the years following the establishment of Israel in 1948. The Nakba, or catastrophe, refers to the mass displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians that occurred during this time. Jinnah understood that the proposed partition was a precursor to this tragedy. He predicted that the creation of Israel would not bring about peace and stability but rather lead to widespread displacement and suffering for the indigenous population. This understanding of the Nakba highlights Jinnah's commitment to justice for the Palestinian people. His opposition to the two-state solution was not merely a political stance, it was a moral imperative rooted in his belief in the right to self-determination for all peoples. Jinnah recognized that any solution that disregarded the rights and aspirations of the Palestinian Arabs would ultimately lead to further resentment and conflict. The legacy of partition. The partition of India, which occurred in the same year as the proposed partition of Palestine, provides an important lens through which to understand Jinnah's perspective. The traumatic experience of partition in South Asia involved widespread violence, mass displacement, and communal riots. Millions were uprooted from their homes, and the scars of this division continue to resonate in the subcontinent. Jinnah's experiences during this tumultuous period shaped his understanding of the dangers of dividing peoples along religious and ethnic lines. He believed that the lessons learned from the partition of India should serve as a cautionary tale for the proposed partition of Palestine. Rather than creating a peaceful coexistence, the division would likely result in ongoing strife and division. Jinnah understood that the creation of Israel would not only exacerbate tensions between Jews and Arabs but also impact the broader geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Geopolitical instability. Jinnah's critique of the two-state solution also encompassed a broader understanding of the geopolitical implications. He predicted that the establishment of Israel would not lead to peaceful coexistence but would instead fuel animosities not only between Jewish and Arab populations but also among neighboring Arab states. His foresight was remarkably accurate, as evidenced by the subsequent conflicts in the region, including the Arab-Israeli Wars of 1948, 1967, and 1973. The geopolitical instability that followed the establishment of Israel has had enduring consequences, shaping the dynamics of Middle Eastern politics and international relations. Jinnah's understanding of these complexities reflects his keen awareness of history and its potential to repeat itself. He recognized that dividing land along religious and ethnic lines could only escalate tensions and lead to further conflict. Jinnah's vision for Palestine. What is often less discussed is Jinnah's vision for Palestine. While his opposition to the two-state solution was rooted in justice for the Palestinians, he also advocated for a unified, independent state where Muslims, Jews, and Christians could coexist. Jinnah's ideal was one of harmony and collaboration, rather than division and conflict. This vision stands in stark contrast to the fractured realities of the contemporary Middle East. In Jinnah's view, a unified Palestine would allow for the flourishing of diverse communities, where individuals of different backgrounds could live together in peace. His belief in coexistence was grounded in the principles of justice and equality, which he upheld throughout his political career. This ideal remains a distant dream in today's world, where conflict and division continue to dominate the landscape. The role of Zionism. Another crucial aspect of Jinnah's perspective was his understanding of Zionism. While he opposed the two-state solution primarily for its implications for Palestinian rights, he also saw Zionism as an extension of European imperial ambitions. Jinnah argued that the support for a Jewish state was part of a broader plan by Western powers, particularly Britain, to maintain control over the Middle East. He viewed Zionism not just as a movement for Jewish self-determination but as a geopolitical strategy that sought to further entrench colonial control in the region. This perspective allowed Jinnah to contextualize the Palestinian struggle within the larger framework of anti-colonial movements around the world. He recognized that the establishment of Israel would serve to perpetuate the dominance of Western powers in a region rich in resources, particularly oil. By opposing the partition, Jinnah positioned himself not only as a defender of Palestinian rights but also as a critic of neo-colonialism. His stance resonated with other anti-colonial leaders of the time, who understood that the struggles for independence and self-determination were interconnected across national boundaries. A call for justice and coexistence. Jinnah's rejection of the two-state solution and his advocacy for a unified Palestine were grounded in his belief in justice and equality. He recognized that any solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict must prioritize the rights of all people involved. His vision for Palestine was not merely a political statement, it was a call for a more just and equitable world. In today's context, Jinnah's message remains relevant as the Palestinian territories continue to face fragmentation and occupation. The ongoing conflict has resulted in deep-seated grievances and a cycle of violence that has proven difficult to break. Jinnah's understanding that peace cannot be built on the displacement of one people for the benefit of another resonates with contemporary discussions surrounding the conflict. The relevance of Jinnah's insights. As we reflect on Jinnah's narrative regarding the two-state solution and the Palestine-Israel conflict, it becomes clear that his insights were not only prophetic but also deeply relevant to the challenges we face today. The ongoing struggles of the Palestinian people highlight the urgent need for a just resolution that recognizes their rights and aspirations. Jinnah's opposition to the partition of Palestine serves as a reminder that genuine peace cannot be achieved through coercion or the marginalization of any group. Instead, a sustainable solution must be grounded in mutual respect, understanding, and coexistence. His vision of a unified Palestine, where diverse communities can thrive together, remains a powerful ideal that continues to inspire those seeking peace and justice in the region. Conclusion. In conclusion, Jinnah's narrative surrounding the two-state solution and the Palestine-Israel conflict reveals a profound understanding of the complexities of colonialism, self-determination, and justice. His rejection of the partition was rooted in his commitment to the rights of all peoples, and his vision for a unified, peaceful Palestine serves as a poignant reminder of the need for harmony in a world often marked by division and strife. As we navigate the complexities of contemporary politics and the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, revisiting Jinnah's insights can offer valuable lessons. His advocacy for justice, equality, and coexistence remains a critical challenge for all those committed to resolving the ongoing struggles in the Middle East. Jinnah's legacy endures as a testament to the power of visionary leadership and the necessity of fighting for a world where all individuals can live with dignity and respect.